Today, I want us to reflect on an idea that, although uncomfortable, is completely real. Most security breaches involve human error. Not because we aren't intelligent, but because we work under pressure, we trust the people we interact with, and we make quick decisions without imagining that someone might be trying to deceive us. Most security incidents don't begin with hackers writing sophisticated code. They start with something much simpler. Someone clicking on a link that looked normal, someone sharing a file without checking it, an executive receiving an urgent call and authorizing a transfer without verification, or an employee reusing a weak password across multiple accounts. These are not technical failures. They are human decision-making failures. Let me give you some concrete examples of how the human factor has caused some of the most serious incidents in recent years. In February 2024, Change Healthcare suffered one of the most devastating attacks in the history of the healthcare sector. The attackers gained access to the system using compromised credentials from a server that did not have multi-factor authentication enabled. This simple configuration mistake allowed them to steal up to 6 terabytes of sensitive patient data and deploy ransomware that paralyzed payment processing and prescription services across the U.S. healthcare system. The incident affected more than 190 million people and cost United Health Group over $1.5 billion in direct response costs. The root cause was a human failure, not enabling multi-factor authentication on a critical system. But there's more. In September 2023, MGM Resorts experienced a nightmare that lasted 10 days and cost them $100 million. It all started with a simple phone call. The attackers researched MGM employees on LinkedIn and called the company's IT help desk, pretending to be one of those employees. In less than 10 minutes, they convinced help desk staff to reset the password and disable multi-factor authentication. With that access, the hackers deployed ransomware across more than 100 servers, shutting down slot machines, digital room keys, ATMs, reservation systems, and payment terminals. Guests had to wait in endless lines to check in, and staff had to go back to using handwritten receipts. All of this happened because of a phone call and an employee who failed to verify the caller's identity. And it wasn't just MGM. At the same time, Caesar's Palace also fell victim to a similar attack carried out by the same criminal group. Unlike MGM, Caesars decided to pay a $15 million ransom to prevent further damage. Even so, the stolen data likely ended up being sold on the dark web anyway. The examples don't stop there. Google and Facebook, two of the most technologically sophisticated companies in the world, collectively lost more than $100 million when a scammer simply sent them fake invoices while impersonating a legitimate hardware supplier they actually used. Employees at both companies paid the invoices because everything appeared to match their existing business relationships. No one questioned it, no one verified it. This brings us to business email compromise attacks, or simply BEC. In 2024, 73% of all reported cyber incidents were BEC attacks, where criminals impersonated executives or suppliers to deceive employees. Between October 2013 and December 2023, BEC attacks caused nearly $55 billion in losses globally. In 2023, the average cost per BEC incident was $137,000. And here is something alarming. Since the rise of generative AI tools, BEC attacks have increased by 1,770% year over year, growing from just 1% of all cyber attacks in 2022 to 18.6% in recent years. The statistics are clear and revealing. In 2024, 95% of data breaches involved human error, driven by insider threats, credential misuse, and user mistakes. 66% of chief information security officers in the United States consider human error to be their organization's most significant cyber vulnerability. 30% of cyber attacks begin with phishing. And here is one of the most concerning facts. 86% of employees say they can confidently identify phishing emails, yet nearly 50% admit they have fallen for scams. These numbers show us something fundamental. There is a massive gap between the confidence we have in our abilities and the reality of how vulnerable we actually are. So why are people the weakest link? It's not a lack of intelligence or capability. The problem is that we work under pressure. When a supposed CEO sends us an urgent email requesting a transfer, we want to be efficient and respond quickly. We trust by nature. Attackers exploit our natural tendency to trust authority figures and communications that appear legitimate, and we underestimate the risks. All of this helps us understand that cybersecurity is not exclusively an IT issue. It's not something only engineers or system administrators need to understand. It's a responsibility that involves everyone, from the person at the front desk to top management. Each person, depending on their role, has access to information, tools, or decisions that can either strengthen security or weaken it. In the case of Change Healthcare, the attackers remained undetected in the system for 9 days before deploying ransomware, moving laterally through the network and stealing data at scale. Imagine how many opportunities there were to detect suspicious activity, yet no one noticed anything unusual. The reality is that a single click in the wrong place can trigger an incident that impacts an entire organization. This means that an exposure, loss, leak, or theft of data driven by insider threats can cost organizations millions. But just a little knowledge, a single second of doubt, one verification habit, one conscious decision can prevent a massive breach, and that decision depends entirely on each individual. 87% of organizations train their employees in some way to detect cyber attacks, yet attacks continue to succeed. Why? Because technology alone is not enough. You can have the best antivirus, the most advanced firewall, and perfect policies on paper, but if someone falls for a scam, shares information without verifying it, or ignores a warning, all that effort collapses. That's why we created this course, to help you understand the risks, recognize the most common deceptions, adopt safe habits, and become a strong part of the chain, not its weakest link. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need advanced technical knowledge. You just need to learn how to make better digital decisions every day. Security starts with you, with your judgment, your attention, and your ability to pause for a moment before acting. If everyone in the organization adopts this mindset, from operational roles to executive leadership, the entire company becomes stronger and more resilient against any attack. Remember, you are a key piece. Your actions matter, and this course is the first step toward becoming an active defender of your organization's security.